We are Morrison Madness. I'm LaShelle.
I'm Don.
Today, we're going to share with you some items that we don't feel like we could live without. Items that if it broke, we'd replace it or something along those lines. But we think, we could be wrong, you let us know if we're wrong, that are fairly unique, that not everybody has. And they...
Right, like not everybody has a Don. So if I broke, you either fix me or you replace me.
Not everybody would want a Don. But yes, that is a good example. And the price ranges that we're talking about these items, some are $20, $30, and some are, I don't know, hundreds to $1,000.
Well,
I don't even know what some of them are.
hundreds of dollars. I mean, altogether they would be thousands of dollars, but yeah, I mean, individually they're hundreds of dollars a piece.
So we'll get to that, but so they range in price. And we're sharing this just because we think they're awesome items and we just kind of wanted to share about them. And I'll try and have links to all of them if I can find a link like on Amazon or a website that you can at least see it, if not buy it. But hopefully someplace that you can buy it from. I'll try and have a link to that as we're talking through these items. Maybe not to every single item because one of Don's item is several items, but we'll get there. So do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Why don't we take turns?
Well, that's kind of what I figured. So
Well, you can start.
Okay. So the first item actually has 4 different items in it for me, and that is a robe. So starting off in college, I had a bathrobe that actually was my dad's bathrobe from who knows when, where he had it, but maybe even college himself, one of those kind of things. I'm not really sure. That I used to get back and forth to the bathroom for showers and just got used to always having a bathrobe for showers, and I wouldn't go back.
But it's a specific type of bathrobe.
It is.
There are hundreds of types of bathrobes.
Yes.
Everybody has a bathrobe.
Yes.
You've got to clarify.
I'm going to clarify.
Okay.
So the bathrobe that I have, and the one that I did have, it kind of fell apart. I mean, the material literally started just disintegrating. It was old, but it's the thickness of a regular hand towel kind of idea, or a kitchen towel. It's not super thick and fluffy and puffy.
No, but it's that material. It's terry cloth, like a towel.
Right. It's terry cloth, but I've seen other terry cloth robes that are super duper thick, and I don't care for them. I like the thinner terry cloth robe. And I've had different ones that are shorter with shorter sleeves or longer with longer sleeves, which usually means a male versus a female style or cut. I'm fine with either one, but even now, like, I don't have to go anywhere. I still wear a bathrobe when I get out of the shower. That's primarily how I dry off. I will put in a caveat that if you are, and I'm going to throw you under the bus, like Don, where when you get out of the shower, your showers and your bathtubs are so hot that you're actually sweating when you get out of the tub. I don't think a bathrobe is good for you because the bathrobe only washes like once a week or what have you.
No, right, I'd need to wash it all the time.
Yeah, and so then it won't stand up for the price of them. It won't stand up to how many times you need to wash them. You're better off having regular towels. I am not that type of person. I grew up where you use the same towel all week. And so for me, I use that towel to just kind of put on and I just naturally dry to a certain extent. I don't, rub down everywhere. And a lot of times I'll use a different towel for my hair. But that is one of the things that I really like. And then that kind of grew into... I got a fuzzy bathrobe that's more of a house robe, and I think I got it from Walmart, so I don't know that I'll be able to find a link for that one, but it was just a nice, warm bathrobe, and it's oversized. Like, I bought a triple XL or something silly like that for me to be able to wander around when I moved out of the residence hall, and I had roommates that... were around the house and I wanted to go out to the kitchen to get a drink, but I didn't want to necessarily have to get fully dressed from being in bed or something that way. I just wanted to be able to throw on a robe and go out there to get it. And so then I got that, which also came in very handy when we had kids, because I would come out in the morning a lot of times in my robe, make sure that they were getting breakfast and getting stuff done, and then I could go back in and change clothes. So, and I really enjoy having my robe for that. And then I also have 2 other robes. One is a pack towel robe, which is a specific company that does camping towels kind of idea, and it's an actual robe. And I have used that a ton when I would go to work out like on campus during the day or something that way. I would have a workout bag, and then being able to shower there and having a robe right there was super helpful. And so I love my pack towel robe. And
that's a specific type of material that it dries you, and then it's a quick dry material.
Right.
So it dries
super fast on its own as well.
Right.
It's a microfiber towel. Now I can tell you that doesn't have any stretch to it, so it can be a little uncomfortable. But again, you're not wearing it for a long period of time. You're literally wearing it to get dried off. And then that one, I think we even took that one with us when we went to Europe.
Yeah.
Because we knew we were going to stay in hostels and things that way, and we had to pack a towel, and I was like, I'm packing that. So I packed that towel. And then my last robe, because of traveling things that way, the fuzzy, big, fluffy robe that I would wear around the house doesn't travel well. It's not something you can easily take with you on a plane or something along those lines. And so I got a thinner robe, and I debated a while on getting that thinner robe. And it's actually on Amazon, usually a maternity robe is what you can find it under, which is interesting. But it's basically like a stretchy cotton blend material. It's almost like a t-shirt, but it's thin, light, and super comfy that way. And it's great for the summer because my robe that I have can get pretty toasty in the summer. So I tend to wear that one now in the summer if I need to come out and around the house kind of idea, where the fuzzy one I wear in the winter. So a robe is one of the things, as you can tell, because I have 4 of them for 4 different things, but I really like having a robe, and that would be something that if you know what you would use it for, you could really get a lot of use out of it. So that's my first item. What's yours?
Cordless power tools.
Okay.
And originally, most people think of cordless power tools, they think of like a drill, maybe a skill saw, a Sawzall type of saw. But over the last 5 years, a lot of companies have expanded those markets. The batteries have gotten a lot better.
Right.
Our neighbor across the street, I feel like it was not long after he moved in, so 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
Has an electric or a battery operated DeWalt lawnmower. And so he said the only issue with it is, and he's got a smaller yard, is that it takes 2 20-volt batteries, and he can't get his whole yard mowed, and he's got to recharge the batteries, so he had to buy extra batteries for it. But like 3 years ago, no, I guess it was just 2 years ago, right after the derecho.
The derecho, yeah.
My sister lives in Cedar Rapids, and she had a lot of trees down, and so I was going up and helping her, and I just was going through a lot of gas and dealing with a lot of stuff with my chainsaw. And I love my chainsaw. It's a steel. It's great. It's got a lot of power. And a friend of mine works at a tool dealership, and I had constantly been asking him if they were coming out with a lawnmower, and he said no, but he was always telling me about these other tools that they have. And I ended up buying a Milwaukee Chainsaw.
Right.
And there was a special deal on it that it came with, I think, a free leaf blower or something like that. And, I mean, that chainsaw, the batteries last a long time. I mean, and the chains on them are great. I mean, I probably ended up cutting more with that than I did with my skill.
Yeah. Yep, you did. I remember you talking about it. And then even here, our neighbor had an old tree that cracked during that time.
Part of our tree.
Right, but you cut up all of that with the Milwaukee one too.
And it's nice because as soon as you let off the trigger, it stops running. I mean, it's great, and it's got tons of power. This winter, the first snow that we had, it was light enough snow. I took the leaf blower out and just snow blowed the sidewalks.
Right.
And got more than 50% of the snow off. They also have a chainsaw like on a pole kind of thing.
Right.
I can't remember what the other Milwaukee tool was that I got from them.
I can't
Anyway,
think either.
After going to battery operated tools.
Wasn't it a weed eater?
Oh yeah, that was the first one that I got.
That was the
That's
first
why I
one you
ended up
got.
getting the chainsaw.
Right.
I was having so many problems with my skill getting it started every spring. I mean, once I got it started for the spring the first time, it runs great, but I just hated fighting with it. And he had said something about it, and I ended up going and buying one, and I just love it. I mean, it's amazing.
Right. Yeah. So weed eater was the first one.
And the batteries, I mean, I can weed whack my whole yard on
Right.
one battery. I mean,
Right.
they're great. And then, not having to deal. I know a lot of people that have them and have a cord. Same with lawnmowers and bush trimmers, corded drills, corded saws. I mean, there's a time and a place when you need that, but batteries have gotten so much better and so much stronger that I would never want to go back to just being corded with stuff.
Right. We even have, I think it's a Milwaukee, isn't it? Your light? Didn't we
Yes.
get that at the same time? So a work light lamp, and we've used that for several different things, including recording some of these. We use some of those lights in order to do like our online courses and stuff and have better lighting in our kitchen when we're doing those online courses. And so, and that uses the same batteries as the power tools.
Yes,
So
and that's
they're
a nice thing is
interchangeable.
all of the smaller hand tools that I have are DeWalt, and they all use the same battery. I started off a long time ago with 18 volts. As those wore out, I replaced them with 20 volt. All the Milwaukee ones take the same batteries.
So that's one of the things too, if you're thinking about kind of getting into this and you know that there's several different tools that you want or need and you want to switch over to battery, do your research and figure out the company that's the best for you and things that way. So then that way you can get the right tools and have the batteries interchangeable. And then you can have extra batteries, because if the batteries are interchangeable and each tool comes with a battery, you naturally have extra batteries. Like that's part of the nice part of it. Even though the tool might only come with one battery, if you can get 2 tools at a time, then you've got 2 batteries that you can be using when you use one tool.
Yeah, and I don't have any,
interchangeable.
like I don't have a knock against DeWalt. I will say I also have some Bosch tools that are battery operated. I will say right now, and this could change in the future, but right now I feel like Milwaukee has a larger line of tools that are battery operated, and they have a longer lasting battery.
Yeah. Like the 20 volt actually lasts longer as you're using it than
Yes.
the DeWalt 20 volt.
Yes.
So we don't have actual times on them, but they seem to work longer in that way. Okay.
But I've never had an issue with any of the brands that I have. I mean, they've all been good brands.
Right.
So what's next on your list?
So the next thing on my list is our hot water pot. So once I had a place of my own, I am not a coffee drinker, but for some reason I ended up with a coffee pot, and I'm not sure where or how or why I ended up with a coffee pot, but I did. And so I ended up using the coffee pot for hot water to have hot chocolate or fake cappuccino, as I call it, which is basically like the gas station cappuccino. It's like a hot chocolate mix that you just add to hot water and things that way. And so then when we moved in together, I had a coffee pot that was a hot water pot, and then you had your coffee pot, because if you use coffee and you're not a coffee drinker and then you try and put hot water through it, it has a coffee taste. So we didn't want that. So we had to have 2 things sitting on the counter anyway. And then we've gone through several coffee pots doing that. And at some point recently, I was looking at stuff and I said, our coffee pot just died or is going to die or what have you. It was starting to cause problems. And I said, I found this hot water pot. I feel like we should try it. It's more expensive, quite a bit more expensive up front. But supposedly it lasts for several years. It's constantly hot water, and it holds 5 liters of water. And it's at a consistent temperature.
Right, because it's vacuum sealed.
Right, it's a vacuum sealed tank. And so, and it has 3 different, I'm going to sneeze, bless me for a second.
Bless you.
Thank you. It has 3 different
Temperature
settings, right? And so you can set it at different temperatures for what you want. And I am one that I don't want stuff super hot. I don't like my drinks overly warm. I'm warm enough, but not like boiling kind of idea. And so it's like 175, 195, and 205 or something like that on that hot water pot. And we always have it set at 175 because we primarily use it for teas and like hot chocolate and apple cider, the powdered mix stuff. And so for me, I started getting into actually drinking tea and trying to find teas that I liked because I'm not a big tea drinker. And I drink way more water and tea now because of the hot water pot, that if that were to break, I would want to get another hot water pot. I wouldn't go back to the coffee pot.
Right. And the nice thing about having it, that it's got the multiple temperature settings is if you were a person that liked to do pour over coffee instead of having a coffee pot, you could bump it up to that 195. By the time you filled up a glass pitcher or whatever to do your pour over thing, it's going to cool down, to between 185 and 190, which is the temperature you want for pour over coffee. Makes a great cup of coffee that way.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many different
things. And you've done
things.
that a couple times.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long when, like, if you're sitting on 175 and you bump it up to 195, it takes a couple minutes. It doesn't take very long to get up to a temperature. It takes longer to cool back down. But again, I can pour 195 temp water into my cup. I just need to know that it is, because I'll need to wait a couple extra minutes before
I put an ice cube in
drink. Or put an ice cube in it to cool it down. So it's fine that it's if you bump it up kind of thing. But yeah, it works out really well. It's got a pour spout right from it that's super high, so you could set a mug, a taller mug underneath it to fill it, all of that kind of stuff. And it actually has I'm not quite sure if it has a battery in it or what it does, but you can unplug it and still get water out of it. So it doesn't have to be plugged into the wall. So you could take it out to a picnic and have hot water sitting outside with no power, and you can still get hot water out of it. It doesn't have to be plugged in. And so you'd want to set that at like a higher temp, because the temp's going to lower over time.
Right.
But it will keep stuff warm for quite a while.
I think it just uses vacuum pressure to pump the water out.
Could be. I'm not sure. So, but yeah, so it's definitely one of those things that I wouldn't have thought that I would need, and that.
Do you remember what brand it is?
A Zohorishi. And there's a couple different brands out there. That was one that had good reviews and was not as expensive as some others.
Right.
So
again, we'll try to put a link for some of these things.
Yeah, that one we got off of Amazon. I should be able to find the link for it, or something very similar, because again, we got it a few years ago at this point. But it's one of those weird things where I use it every day, and we use it when we cook. Like if you need hot water real quickly and you don't want to have to wait to heat it up, you don't want it straight out of the sink, because the water too, when you put it into this, it boils it and then comes back down to temperature.
Right.
So it's boiling the water each time that you fill it. So that's really cool too. So I've used it for that. I even, like the other day, didn't feel very well, was making mac and cheese or whatever. So I actually filled the pot with hot water out of the hot water thing, because then it boiled faster because it was already hot. When I turned it on the stove, I didn't have to heat up cold water. And so it boiled a lot faster to make the mac and cheese, and I didn't have to stand and wait.
If you're a couple and you're getting one of these, just remember that one of you will never remember to fill it.
That is true.
And the other person will be responsible for filling it.
That is true. And I would recommend that person that ends up being their responsibility to fill it, Don, is that you fill it at night, so then that way it boils and it's ready in the morning.
I do try to fill it in.
Filling it in the morning. And then it's not ready when we need it.
If I don't fill it, it never gets filled.
No, that's true. I've filled it a couple times in the last several years. So, and we got the 5 liter. There's also a 3 liter. And again, you know yourself, if it's you by yourself or you think you're the only one that's going to use it, a 3 liter is fine. But the 5 liter, we've gone through the 5 liter in like a day.
Yeah.
If we both are home and it's cold out, we're both drinking a lot of tea, something along those lines, we will go through 5 liters of water out of that thing pretty quickly.
Yep.
So I would recommend getting the bigger one if you're going to have more than one person using it. I would even have one in an office. Like if I had an office where I could have my own kind of stuff, I would get one of those to put in my office. I'd get the small one, but I would get one of those. So that's my second thing, is the hot water pot. What's yours?
My second thing is, and again, cordless. things that don't have a cord are so much easier to use. You don't have to fight with that cord when you're trying to do stuff. I have a couple of autoimmune conditions. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and then I have one that affects the skin on my face, and so I don't shave every day. And because I don't shave every day, and because razors, regular like Bic razors and whatever, are hard for me to hold, having a cordless clippers or trimmer really makes it nice to trim the whiskers down and make them short.
Right.
And then it also makes it easier for me to shave if I am using like a Bic razor or whatever.
Right.
I've tried like regular electric razors. I've tried several different kinds, several different brands, ones that have the multiple heads, one that have the line head thing, and they just don't do a good job of shaving, in my opinion. And then I end up having to use a regular Bic razor or Gillette or Schick or whoever.
Right.
And so, to me, it's just a godsend. Again, I that it's more of a thing because of my RA.
Right. But it's something that you would recommend if somebody always has had like an electric razor, even if it's a corded. You would recommend a cordless.
Yes.
Over that.
Yes, I really like them. It's very versatile.
Right.
So.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so then we're on to me again.
Yep.
All right, so my last one is our bed. And I know that sounds somewhat silly, but we splurged a bit when we got our bed. Shortly before we were married, I feel like.
Well, we ordered it. We didn't get it until after.
Right. So we ordered it before we were married, but then we got it after we were married. We got a California King, which just happened to be, that's the size that we got. But part of it is because it's a adjustable massage bed, and it technically you could have it depending upon your mattress. If your mattress is split and you have the two mattresses, which then you need California King, I believe, to get that, which is two single beds next to each other kind of idea.
2 extra long single beds.
Okay.
Or twins. 2 extra long twins, I think.
Is it extra long twins? I thought it was just regular twins.
No.
Okay. In any case, then you can actually adjust the bed differently for each side. And we didn't go for that. We have one solid mattress across the bed. But
so we have the sides synced together. So
right.
One side goes up, the other side goes up.
Right. So they're synced together, so we only have to use the one remote, but it comes with two. But the biggest thing is anytime we don't feel the best, we are able to crawl into bed, be in what is called 0G, which feels like you're floating on water, basically, and then massage while you're watching TV and
Well, you say massage, but the bed...
It's a vibrate.
Right, the bed vibrates.
Right. It's a massage feature, and there's different settings to that. But that was a godsend when I had my tailbone removed, to be able to...
Well, and when we had COVID, I mean, to be able to to lay in bed, not laying flat, watch TV, and be comfortable, and then adjust it up and be able to eat in bed.
Yep.
And,
Yep. And you can sit up more and read and all of that.
All the things they
stuff.
tell you that you're not supposed to do in bed.
You can do with one of these, and we highly recommend it. That's how that works. And again, not that you should necessarily, watch TV before you go to bed in bed kind of thing, but it's definitely one of those that anytime I don't feel well, I would much rather chill out in bed, which before I wasn't that way. I would rather be on the couch or something that way because it felt like I could sit up part way, where in a regular bed you can't do that halfway sit up, relaxing kind of thing. And so that's my last one, is our massageable bed.
So my last one is a foldable card table.
Yeah.
And I know that might seem weird, but we don't have a coffee table in our living room. We have end tables at the end of the couches. And then we thought about having a coffee table, and I think we even tried one at one point, but with the dog and then now with the puppies, there's no room on the floor to play with them and that kind of thing, so we just don't have it. But if I want to work in the living room and while I'm watching TV on stuff, it's nice to have this table that folds up and folds down easily and quickly, and it's not heavy. It's easy to store it.
Right.
It's just very versatile, and we have I mean, we use them for our DJ company.
Right.
So we have several different sizes of them.
I was just
but
gonna
we
ask what size.
specifically bought the card table size for me to be able to use.
But it's the kids' card table. It's not a regular card table size, because the regular card table size is a table height. It's almost the same height as a dining room table. And so the ones that we use in the living room, they're smaller. They're not quite as big, like across the top of the table.
None of them are as tall as this table.
No.
I mean, the 4-foot one
Can be.
is adjustable.
Right.
Right. But their regular height on them is lower than what a standard kitchen table
And
is.
I get that, but we have a regular full-size card table, and it never comes out. It's downstairs.
No, right.
So the ones that we're using in the living room are the kid ones. They're
Right.
specifically designed and sold as kid card tables.
Right.
And
They're 2-foot by 2-foot square.
Right.
I don't know exactly how tall they are.
I'm not sure either. But just the right height kind of idea if you're sitting on a couch that's not a high couch or a high recliner. Our
Right.
couch and chair are a little lower, and so it's a great height for that. And yes, it's very nice to be able to, if we know that we're having people over or we're going to have a party or something like that, we can easily pack it up and put it out of the way and not have it in the way of people wanting to walk around. We've used it in other places too. Like we've set it up in the middle of the kitchen to just have a little bit more space for stuff. And while it's not super high, I mean, it's a lower table, it's at least another flat surface that's up off the floor kind of idea that you can,
Right.
empty out a cupboard. You can put stuff right there on that table. It's out of your way. So
Well, and we've taken it out by the fire pit.
yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So you'd be surprised if you don't have kids and you've never had a kid card table, you'd be surprised how many uses you could come up with for a kid card table that you use around your house
yeah,
yourself.
it's just the right size to have a laptop on and then room off to the side to have some paperwork to write on, whatever. I mean, I use it almost every single day.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, if you have any questions about any of the stuff that we just went over, you wanted questions about the brands, if
Right.
we recommend them, we'll try to put links for all of them, as many of them as we can into the thing.
And let us know what are some items that you can't live without.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're
We
curious.
love to hear back from people.
And maybe we need to add some of them into our stuff too. Who knows?
Could be.
So we want to learn from you. So definitely put down things that you can't live without as well, and we'll let you know whether or not we already have those things.
So check us out on social media, and between now and the next episode, hope you guys have a good week.
Yeah, take care.